Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 40 of the Lord Ninja Choke MMA Picks podcast. Today, I'm joined by Will in the UK and Josh in Australia. I'm Dom, I'm based in the US, and today we're going to be breaking down UFC Vegas 112, which is an Apex card headlined by Brandon Royval and Manel Kape in the flyweight division. And we're going to give you every bet that we placed on this card. Before we do that, we are going to give you a recap of our results from UFC 323, starting with Will.
The less time I spend on this, the better, because I'm pretty ashamed at my slate here. I staked 18.25 units and lost minus 5.54, which is pretty crap. There's a lot of bets there. It's all a bit of a mess. Honestly, the only thing I can say is I was very busy in my personal life and probably shouldn't have been so financially invested in this card when I didn't really have the time to dedicate towards it. There are some really sloppy ones there right at the top. What kind of a selection is that? I knew I liked the significant strikes for Petr, but I ended up converting that into a bet that has Dvalishvili's money line in it. It's just terrible from top to bottom. I mean, there were some highlights. I did actually do quite well at a few money lines. I bet Bruno Ferreira quite confidently when it seemed like everyone was very interested in Marvin Vettori. I got my read on that fight really well. Fares Ziam, I was confident in him in a closely lined fight. He overachieved as far as I'm concerned, so I didn't make too much profit there. Macy Barber, I was confident in her. And yeah, I mean, aside from that, it all kind of went downhill. Lost on Brandon Moreno. That was tough to watch. I mean, obviously the worst part was Grant Dawson. I was quite confident in him from a parlay leg perspective, and he really did walk headfirst into his route to a loss. So that was tough. But yeah, just a messy card. It seems like every avenue I ventured down, I messed it up. So yeah, on to the next one. The less said about it, the better, honestly. Tom, how did you get on? I know you had a much better time than I did.
Yeah, I mean, it started well for me. So I was mainly in the prelims backing Ivo Baraniewski, and pretty much, so I was there at the event, and pretty much after he fought, I felt like I got my money's worth, because that was, even though it was only a 60-second fight, it was back and forth, and it did look pretty hairy for Ivo at one stage, with Aslan coming on pretty strong. But in the end, he got the job done, so it was a good start. But then it was pretty choppy up and down. Well, actually, I should have said Naimov lost first to start with, and I was backing him. So that was a bad start, but it came back with Baraniewski. So it was going back up and down, basically undulating, and I was having a pretty sort of average card, I'd say. I was way overexposed in many spots. Enormous slate here. I had to blow up the wins and losses because there's just too many lines here. So yeah, it was like going into the co-main and the main event, I think I was slightly down, maybe like a couple of units down, and then yeah, so called it here on the podcast. I had the Jan Van parlay, as well as taking their money lines and many props for both of them. I was very lucky with Van, of course. I'm definitely going to put my hands up and say didn't expect that outcome. So yes, yeah, with betting you always need a little bit of luck, and when that happened, I thought, you know what, this might be my night. when Alexandre Pantoja got unfortunately injured, that was obviously the first leg of an epic two-legger, which I called on a previous episode. Not the last one, but the one before. I called the PTR and Josh Fan parlay, the Anfan parlay. Actually, I was actually messaging that to a few people during the week, and I think they just thought I was joking. People were posting laughing emojis at it. I put it in Discord. So yeah, I guess they just thought it was a joke. I was like, I didn't clarify that I was serious, I guess. So, yeah, I don't think I'll ever hit two underdogs in a row in a co-main and main event for a numbered card ever again in my life. So yeah, it was a pretty good event in the end, and just because of the fantastic performance by PTR mainly. Yeah, I thought he just was the perfect antidote to Merab's constant wrestling, and I don't think he ever really controlled PTR for very long. He never got him down and controlled him, so that was really the key to the fight, was the takedown defense of PTR. How was your night, Josh?
It could have gone better. I mean, I'm seeing a lot of red there. My parlay missed, which is pretty sad because I was on a winning streak with my parlays recently until now. My alt bets 1 of 5 hit, and the whole purpose of the alt bet is to hit one nice big hit, and that'll hopefully mitigate the losses and whatever. And that kind of happened, but not really. Like I'm still in the red, but it's still a bit, gross. My two locks hits, and my locks were Duncan and Abdul Malik. So I'm guessing by the end of the year or after this event, this coming event, my accuracy for my locks will still be around 84%, which is pretty good. And my prediction accuracy is up by a slight margin. So my stress about being below 64% by the end of the year is gone until hopefully, well, forever, really. I mean, like I expect this weekend's event to be pretty predictable, and hopefully that 64.4 is ticked up a bit afterwards, So yeah, not too bad.
Oh, well, I hope it is going to be predictable. That's going to help us with our bets. And speaking of this week's card, let's get into it. I think I'll ask a slightly different question of you both. So we did the early leans and predictions, went through these fights, and some of them we were less confident about. Have you changed your opinion on any of these fights since we last spoke on the early leans, or have you grown more confident in any of these outcomes?
Well, I'm just gonna. Oh, I don't know how to even answer that. Really, that's more like a will question, I think. But like for me, looking at the card, it is predictable only if you skip the first few fights, right? I mean, I still stand firm by what I said in the last episode. The top of the card down to say Brito Bagdasarian, it's amazing. I reckon we're gonna see mostly favorites win. I mean, the lines are pretty correct in my opinion. But what I am most surprised by is the Royval Kape money line odds. Me and Dom were talking about this before the recording started. Royval is a tempting dog to take. I understand that Kape has a mean streak about him. He's a very intelligent striker. He's very much of a sniper. He can make it a difficult fight for Royval, but I mean it's a 5-round fight, and yeah, that's all that really plays into the favor of Royval. I mean, when it comes to the technicalities of the striking, Kape destroys Royval, but then Royval's a dog, so I mean, I can't wait for the main event. But then anything after that, like the whole card by itself, it's a mildly okay card. Terrible to write about. I had the worst time writing about this on Reddit, so that's my rant. But yeah, not a bad card. I forgot the initial question, but that's my answer. It didn't really answer it, maybe, but yeah, that's my answer. What about you, Will?
Yeah, I mean, I think I remember the question. I don't feel like my opinion has changed on anything since we initially talked about it, but I do feel like my stance on certain fights has gotten stronger, seeing the public opinion kind of agree with me. Obviously, we do all of our research, or we put the early leans podcast out very early in the process, so it takes a long time for the rest of the general public to kind of catch up and figure out how they feel about things that we've already declared, for better or worse, that is. But it seems like a lot of people believe that the Melk Costa Morgan Sharia fight's very close. People have agreed that Gillian Robertson should be a stronger favorite. The betting line has reflected that. People have seen that Melissa Croden should probably be lined closer than she was. Yeah, so overall, I think people seem to have agreed with our overall conclusions that we came to. So that's kind of nice. That's kind of affirming. The weird thing is with this card, I completely agree with you. And if this was happening midway through the year, I would be like turning my nose up at it and taking the opportunity to chat some shit about the quality of an Apex card. But because it's the last one, and after this we don't have a card for a month, I'm kind of weirdly like over invested in it from like an emotional perspective, because once it's over, I'm going to be sad. So I guess I'm kind of looking forward to it and like giving it a lot more respect that it deserves for that reason alone.
Yes, many UFC and MMA fans will be sad because we're having the longest break that we've had for a long time. We've been spoiled, I guess, for many years of not having long breaks. We're going to have a 6 weeks break after this card. I think the only thing I wanted to acknowledge on this card was King Green versus Lance Gibson Jr. And since he is above the threshold of cutoff, Josh, I mean, I want to know what's the predictable outcome. I haven't looked at the odds for this fight. Is it? Are you saying King Green is? I mean, I'm assuming King Green is the side, but I haven't looked at the odds. So, have you got an opinion on this one?
Yeah, King Green is definitely the side here. When I watch tape on Lance Gibson Jr., he is primarily a switch style kicker, and if you know King Green, you know that he likes his straight strikes, and we all know by now that the perfect counter to a kick is a punch. So I do expect Green to just find his flow early, counter those kicks with his punches, and eventually show that UFC veterancy that he is known for. And hopefully not headbutt his opponent and then knock him out afterwards, right? So, yeah.
Yes, and as you said before we came on, that was the Jared Green fight where he headbutted Jared Green, right?
Yeah, Jared Gordon, yeah.
Jared Gordon, sorry.
Yeah, that's all right. But yeah, that was a upsetting one to watch.
Okay. Yeah, no, absolutely looking forward to this card. So let's get into the bets with Will going first.
All righty. One thing I should have mentioned just then, the one betting line that has moved in a weird direction that I don't agree with at all is the Kennedy and Nzechukwu versus Buchecha fight. I do not understand why Kennedy and Nzechukwu has become more of an appealing price. So I have bet on him for a unit and a half here. I waited and managed to get him at minus 125, which I'm quite happy with. I don't understand where all the respect for Buchecha and all of the disrespect on Kennedy and Nzechukwu's grappling is coming from. I know he got heel hooked by Walter Walker, but that seems to be something that's happening to too many people that I actually think that it might not be an Nzechukwu thing. It might just be a Walter Walker thing. So I've also put half a unit on Nzechukwu to win by KO because I think he's much more dangerous than Martin Budai. So if this fight does go longer and Buchecha's ability to land takedowns runs out, I think the chance of a Kennedy finish is going to become a lot stronger. Also, later on in the card, Gillian Robertson. This is a bit of a gimmicky thing. Like I said, it's the last card of the year. I'm having a bit of fun with it. Gillian Robertson's my girl. I do think that there was value on that betting line. I love me some women's MMA, so I've gone and thrown 4.5 units on it. It's not to be tailed. It's not that level of confidence. It's exactly the same as my stance I had on Manon Fiorot when she fought Valentina Shevchenko. I've kind of just overextended for fun. I don't really give a shit. At the end of the day, I'm in profit this year. It's not a remarkable year. It's just a bit of fun. I've also put 0.5 units, which I've not written there, on Robertson to win in round 2. That is the trend. We talked about it in the Early Leans podcast. That's the trend of her career, is that she kind of feels out the process in round 1, breaks her opponent, and then submits them or KOs them in round 2. That's the way to attack this fight from a prop perspective, because that's just plus 600 is a much more appealing price than anything else available for something that's actually quite replicable for Robertson. And then after that, I just go down the crazy route of women's MMA. Melissa Croden, as I said earlier on, she should not be plus 132, or she was at the time I bet her. I don't think she should be. I think it's the pick'em of a fight. She's scrappy. I think Luana Santos is quite overrated if she's not grappling, and Croden has shown herself to be very good at getting up. I hope she doesn't get caught in a submission along the way, but I think she's scrappy and she's dedicated, and if the fight goes long, I think she should be able to do more to give the judges reason to award her as the winner. Next up, Teresa Bleda. I have 2 units on her at minus 125. Jamie Lynn Horth is just a fighter that I'm not impressed by. I think that whilst she defensively, she fights to the level of her opponent, and she lets her opponent dictate the dance and just fights in reverse in a defensive way, which gives her a mountain to climb, gives her an uphill battle on the judges' scorecard. She has absolutely no offensive and fight-ending prowess of her own. So I just think that she has just terrible metrics for winning an MMA fight. Whereas Teresa Bleda is always marching forward, always looking for takedowns, always the one who wants to be in control of the fight. And she does look like a pretty good wrestler. She's been off for a fair bit, so there's a couple of question marks there. But I just think that when I think about how this fight should go down, in my opinion, the best case scenario that Jamie Lynn Horth can have is a close fight. And if that's the case, you got to think about all the times that Bleda is dominant, and then you simply chalk that up in terms of probability. If they fight 100 times, I think Bleda should be winning much more than the 55%. So it was kind of a numbers play, that one. And then finally, just wrapping up all 3 of those women, I've bet all 3 of them in a parlay for 0.25 over unit at plus 459. So yeah, women's MMA to the moon. One last event, me doing what I do, being a massive gimmick. Let's just have some fun, and then we can have a break, lick our wounds, or party in the profit, and then start 2026 off properly. How about you, Dom? What have you got for this card?
Yeah, I'm not that dissimilar to you in terms of where I've placed the majority of my funds are with the female Khabib, Gillian Robertson. Very much looking forward to her finishing, or hopefully, knock on wood, finishing Lemos, because I've got her money line and I took her inside the distance, which isn't listed here, but I have taken her inside the distance, so I need to add that. Well, I should have added that rather. Here I have the round 2, round 3, which I've sprinkled, but I do have her inside the distance. So yeah, sorry about that. I should have listed that. Yeah, I don't think there's much to say on Gillian except that she is, you know, since she's moved down in weight from 125 to 115 straw weight, she has looked fantastic. She's on a run at the moment. I think she's on 4 straight wins. She's 4-1 at this new weight class. She looks big. She looks strong. She has the ability to ragdoll people. I know Lemos is a good fighter, very high-level fighter, has fought probably the high level of competition, but she's shown holes in her grappling defense. She's shown poor get-ups, you know, and ability to accept position on bottom. And I think if you do that against Gillian Robinson, you're going to have a very short day in the office. So I'm expecting early takedown, or at least an early shot from Gillian. And just her to be persistent with the takedowns from the get-go, really. And she's always shown that, and she's shown that reliability. So yeah, I can understand why you like Robertson. That's why I like her too. I don't want to write off Lemos too much, but she is coming in on short notice. I think it's 2 or 3 weeks that she's coming in on, so she won't be overly prepared for this type of grappling offense. So I think most likely the outcome probably is a decision if Gillian just controls her for 3 rounds. But Gillian has shown in her last few fights a willingness to do damage through ground and pound and work to progress on the ground to get to submissions. So I love everything about Gillian's game. She doesn't sit and just lay and pray. Yeah, Melissa Croden. I like her for probably the same reasons as you do, Will. Like, I think that she has the game to make this a tough night for Santos, Luana Santos, who, if she doesn't get a takedown, is going to get peppered on the feet and be losing many minutes. You know, she's not as powerful or a good a striker as Croden. So Santos needs the takedowns, needs to use her judo. I think she might do that 1 round. She might get a takedown. She might hold Croden down for 1 round, but I think Croden's good for 2 out of 3 rounds. So give me 1 unit there. And then, yeah, we disagree on the final one. And I'm not going to push back too much. Jamie Lynn is basically just big. That's her kind of her main attribute. And I know that Bleder is also big, so it kind of cancels out. I got her up plus 140 and she's come down a little bit. I think she's about plus 120. So a bit of closing line value. I think the fight's close. And I think it's mainly close because Bleder's been out for 2 years. And I think that if she can't get the takedowns, it's just going to be a close fight, like a typical women's MMA, really, really, really close encounter. So it's only 1 unit. But yeah, I've got 2 women's underdogs and Gillian, weirdly. So high confidence in 1 female and really just playing the volatility with the other 2. Props wise, main event, I have a little bit of buyer's remorse going main event over 3.5, just because I've seen it at better odds than minus 135. I've seen minus 120 out there. So just if you like it going long, which I still do, I still like the prop. I'm just saying you could get a better price. Royval plus 5.5 points, which means he needs to win 2 out of 5 rounds on a couple of the judges' scorecards, and he needs 1 round on 1 judges' scorecard. It's a bit complicated, the plus 5.5. It's all I have access to. If I had the plus 9.5, I'd probably be playing that, and maybe even 2 units on the plus 9.5, because I just feel Royval he's shown that he's tough. He's never been finished. Yeah, he did have an injury knockout, a technical knockout once when he got injured in the fight against Moreno, but he's never been knocked out. And I mean, I know Kape hits hard, and he definitely can knock someone out. We've never seen Kape fight for 5 rounds. So I went and looked at his record before we came on. He's literally never seen. He's hardly seen a round 3, let alone a round 4. So I like Josh's alt bet. Oh, so I shouldn't give away what his alt bets are, but I like the fight to go long. And I think if the fight goes long, I think this fight is close. And Josh mentioned how wide the money line is, and as he was saying it to me, I was like, "You're right, dude. It's wide." I didn't want to take another main event dog, but I think it's possible that I'm going to get to sprinkling the Brandon Royval money line. My initial way to attack it was to wait and see how round one played out. But if Royval hits that takedown in round one, I know Kape has fantastic takedown defense, but if he does something weird, I lock up a leg and get him to the ground that way, I'd be like, damn, I should have played the money line. So it's possible I might sprinkle the money line or wait to the end of round one, because I think Kape probably wins the majority of round ones between the two of them. He'll just stay safe. He'll pepper him from distance, and probably could get even greater odds. You know, the odds will go to like 4 or 5. You know, plus 400, plus 500 after round 1 or 2. So probably more of a live spot for Brandon Royval. Oh, I have got Gillian here. I wrote her as female Khabib, so that was why I didn't see. Female Khabib inside the distance 1 unit. That's plus 150. I thought that was good value. The other person I like on the card is Vallejos. And then I parlayed Vallejos with Cortez Acosta. Cortez Acosta fights on the 25th of January next year. He takes on Derek Lewis. Yeah, I don't have a good record against Derek Lewis, so I wish I just done Vallejos and Robertson, but this is locked in now. So yeah, Cortez Acosta to beat Derek Lewis next year. Other than that, everything else is tentative. Melky Costa by decision. Neil Magny, our boy, maybe live after round 1. As I mentioned, Royval moneyline. What have you got, Josh?
I have the fairly typical main parlay and alt bets here, so it's a very boring Apex cards for me. I try and spice it up every now and then, but this time it was just stock standard stuff. So let's go through the legs first, the parlay legs. Amosov and Magny both tend to fight a little bit safe, in that they don't look for a quick finish, or they don't do anything too risky that may lead to themselves being, finished. I do expect a fairly technical tit-for-tat bout where Amosov looks for those much-needed takedowns, and Magny does a lot to survive. Well, really, whatever transpires on the ground, because Magny, is a pretty good counter grappler, and he can survive on the ground, leading to the over 2.5 round prop to hit or mark to hit. And Zetroku and Buchicha are likely to waste little time in trying to get their game plan going. And Zetroku is going to most likely deal damage on the feet, use those clench knees, use those boxing and all that stuff that he does well to try and put out or, destroy Buchicha on the feet. Whilst Buchicha, if that's how you even pronounce his name, I can't care any less anymore. I expect him to do whatever it takes to get the fight to the ground. It's his realm, it's his domain on the ground, so I expect him to really try his best to take the fight to the ground. So hopefully someone gets finished, because either Nzechuku gets a KO or Buchicha gets the sub and that leg hits. Parlay leg 3 is the more spicier leg, I suppose. Because whilst Cherrier can be a fantastic finisher when he wants to be, he's also hard to read. He sometimes takes his time on the feet. He sometimes just stares too much. And that might lead to Costa, pulling ahead. But then again, because of that hard predictability of Cherrier, I do expect him to maybe look for that knockout every now and then. And that is why he is, if you look down below, an alt bet, because the potential of a knockout is there for Cherrier in the early rounds, and I expect chaos, but I also expect hopefully calm, because it's a leg, right? You don't want a parlay to lose, right? The fourth leg is pretty boring to explain. I just want the third round to start. These guys are typically good at defending strikes. They're just good at not losing early. So yeah, that's my fourth leg right there, and the total odds are 4.69. So hopefully it hits. And as for the alt bet, Magnify points is a tradition of mine. Most of my reads when it comes to Magny is typically, either he's going to get finished or he's going to win by points. It's how he wins, right? So I do expect if his opponent Amosov can't get him out of there, he's gonna probably turn it around and find the scorecard win, which is as boring as it sounds, and that's okay. Cherrier via K around 1 or 2 is pretty much what I was talking about before. He hits like a truck. He is built like a truck, and yeah, hopefully it hits. I mean, either way, I don't know. Whenever it comes to my alt bets and my parlays clashing, I get confused because I'm kind of like talking myself into a corner here. So let's just move swiftly on to the Almeida pick or the Almeida bet. For those that don't know Almeida, he is a glory kickboxing goat. I call him because he has fought the best of the best in that organization, Glory, and whenever it comes to his style, you can't count him out because even though Oleg Zaishek is a very forward-moving, highly aggressive, crazy Polish dude with crazy knockout power, Almeida's style is primarily countering, and he looks very much like Pereira in that sense. Like, not physically. I mean, Pereira is much more leaner, taller, more handsome, whatever the fuck. And I just expect the counters to be in the favor of Almeida here. So I did take that early round prop thing majiggy there as an alt bet. And then lastly, Royval via round 4, 5 or decision. I firmly believe that if Royval is to win this fight, it'll be in the later rounds. His cardio, his output and activity, as well as his overall visuals that might look appealing to the judges, would skew the scorecards into his favor. Kape has that early round sniper striking that could give Royval a lot of issues, but then if that doesn't hit or if it doesn't really work as effectively as Kape wants it to, Royval's going to take over in those later rounds. And this is a 5-round fight. 5-round fights typically are favored by, or are on the side of those with cardio, and we have seen Royval look so good in 5 rounds. So I do expect a huge momentum shift in the 3rd round, leading to those championship rounds, and hopefully we see Royval win in those later rounds or by decision. And as you can see down there below, I'm finally adding my locks because for some reason I never did before. And so my 2 locks for this week are Robertson and Vallejos.
Yeah, I think all 3 of us are fairly well aligned. So let's hope that ends well for us. Last card of the year. Yeah, because I mean we haven't really been hitting our pod bets. So 4th week in a row we've lost. We lost with Brandon Moreno, and our 2-leg parlay was Grant Dawson and who was the other one? You guys remember?
Oh god,
I only remember Dawson losing. Talbot hit, but Dawson lost. And then this week we got in early on the Gillian Robertson money line. So in future, rather than having a sort of a segment where we bet on the podcast, we'll just try and get the best price we can, and hopefully it's still there. I don't think it's gone too wide, has it? Let me have a look and see what the current money line is on Robertson. She's minus 200. So we got minus 163 earlier in the week, but I think minus 200 is still playable personally. I mean, it's not obviously as much value as playing minus 163, but you could play inside the distance if you can find that at plus money. Here we've sprinkled round 2. Do you guys want to say anything more on this fight and why we like Gillian here?
I personally picked Robertson as a lock and to back this bet up because I believe she has been one of the most dangerous grapplers and wrestlers in the division. Throughout her whole career, she has either mauled her opponents to smithereens and won by decision, or she has found the neck and taken the soul. So I expect a rinse and repeat performance from Robertson, in which she maybe gives up the 1st round and, well, not gives up, but maybe she doesn't finish in the 1st round, but finds it in the 2nd round because she is a grinder. She will make her opponent look like not garbage, but fatigued garbage, maybe. I don't know. I got no other word but garbage. But you know what I mean. Like she's gonna step the cardio, and in the second round, she's gonna capitalize. What about you, Will?
Well, if you've been watching MMA for long enough, you would know that Gillian Robertson is one of the MMA betting goats. If you were to have put a certain amount of money on her to win inside the distance every single time since her UFC debut, I think you would probably be sitting very pretty right now. She's one of those fighters who's just consistently delivers and consistently seems to get very favorable odds. So for that reason alone, she is one of my favorites, and that means she's going to win. So bring on a Gillian W to end the year.
Yep, absolutely. Want to end the year on a high. Can't wait for this one. And I think with that, we just have our usual outro. If you want to take it away, Josh.
Sure can. So join our Discord as we talk about all things MMA betting, as well as share wild memes, talk about potential fights and matchups and whatever, and just really a whole lot more. It's a thriving environment, lots of laughs, lots of serious chats, lots of bets to make, and yeah. So if you want to reach out to us, we are pretty much always active there. Follow our Twitter, as it is the second best way to see new episodes as they come out. The first best way is to subscribe, so just do that now. And then if you look at the Reddit, the UFC Sharp subreddit, check it out every week as Dom and Will both share their outstanding write-ups on a weekly basis, typically during a fight week. And yeah, they are really a can't miss thing if you're into MMA betting. So give it a look. And as always, we thank you for joining us on today's episode. If you enjoy this content, feel free to subscribe, leave a like and a comment, and I guess I can speak for all of us here. We all wish you a happy holidays or a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.